Bum, bum, ba, ba-dum, bum, bum, ba, ba-dum. All right, welcome to Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. I'm your host, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. It's Friday. I hope you're all getting ready for an awesome weekend and a Father's Day. Father's Day. No book club because of the Father's Day, obviously. I think I'm just going to sit and chill. Like I basically told everybody I just want to kind of be left alone. But unfortunately, I won't be able to be left alone 100%. I'm going to go to church. I'm going to check on some polling and, all of that. So, which I don't, it's always a debate on whether or not you really should poll on holidays like that. Certain holidays, absolutely not, right? You have Thanksgiving, you have Christmas. We've talked about stuff like that. When you're talking about Mother's Day and Father's Days, you're on the line. And it honestly is debatable because there are going to be moms who don't want to be bothered, right? Very clearly. You're going to get the most obsessed people who will want to take those surveys. So, it's definitely debatable. We just have some projects that are likely going to run into them, and that's what it is. I have been polling Trump's approval rating basically everywhere and nationally in states and different states and even in congressional districts. And there's a bunch of stories that we could go over today that I think are worth going over. However, I mean, ultimately, what I think they all have in common, guys, is that I don't think Democrats have learned. I think that they, again, have the best, this is an old expression, that the Bible had the best PR, had the best public relations agent in the world, right? And that's probably true. But Democrats, when it comes to the media, big media, they have the best PR guys in the world, which is corporate media, even though most people don't trust them or care about them anymore. What they do have is the ability to make a conversation. Still, whether or not people believe that conversation is something entirely different. We saw some really, really garbage polls this week. I'm in the field at the same time as these people. And it's just going to be the case that they're never going to stop. This is propaganda. I'm tired of people taking issue with people like myself or Mark Mitchell calling them fake. They are fake. We're beyond the ability to rely on a response bias to explain how bad these polls are. Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump's approval rating is not 38%. But on the flip side of that, don't cherry pick because you like something. So if you're a Trump supporter, for instance, and the Quinnipiac poll comes out, and the Quinnipiac poll shows that Donald Trump's approval rating is 38%. Whoops, there goes the dog. But the Democrats are 27%. You can't cherry pick and say, look at how bad the Democratic Party's approval rating is, and then not address or dismiss, even worse, the negative or horrible approval rating that they had for Donald Trump. Quinnipiac is at the point where it's both is happening. They have always been propaganda, but also they are clueless. Quinnipiac just doesn't know what they're doing anymore. They're like a runaway train. They're just so clueless. They shouldn't even be a pollster. It's embarrassing to the industry. It's humiliating. You have others that are just purely propaganda, right? And there are all these stories I really did want to talk about. Consumer sentiment rose, and it rose considerably, a lot more than people expected. The jobless claims that came out yesterday, not as low as I would like to see them, but there's a caveat in them. The reason there are more jobless claims than is the low, traditional 200,000 benchmark is what you want to see for a tight labor market. The reason why is because more government workers are being laid off. That's a good thing. You want enough to shrink government or make a dent into government, but you don't want so much that you're going to collapse the economy if you do it too fast and you do it all at once, right? So all this stuff we could talk about, that's really good. But the bottom line is all of this we can tie back to the media and Democrats just not really they've decided now we're months after the election and they've decided they're not really going to do anything different. They're not, right? The pollsters, they're garbage pollsters. They're going to continue to dump out garbage, but don't dumpster dive. Okay? If you're diving in a dumpster to look for like one thing that's not trash, right? Which is what people are doing when they're going to cite the Quinnipiac's number for Democratic approval. Don't mistake something, guys. You're still dumpster diving. I don't care what you're reaching your ass in the dumpster for. You're still waddling around, and they want you to do that. All right, so I basically was going to go over all this stuff, and I figured, you know what? No, there's one piece that I want to read and one thing I want to focus, and it is Friday, so we'll get to some of your questions. But all of these things can talk about, well, why is consumer sentiment up? Right? Because the media is just continuing to do what they're doing, and the fake narrative never materialized. So now, even the polls, I mean, that survey is run by a Trump-hating fanatic. He took over from another Trump-hating fanatic that was the director of that survey when Donald Trump was president the first time. And they push this crap, but at some point they have to admit people they're talking to are not seeing it. It did not materialize, and we know it didn't. Thank you to the Bureau of Labor Statistics for not fudging numbers so badly. We don't know the full story. We don't know, at least, we don't have some indication that inflation did not skyrocket. In fact, it's lower than it was expected to be and has been for years when Joe Biden was president. The producer price index yesterday came in lower than expected. That's wholesale inflation. That's passed on the consumer. So next month, when we look at the CPI, we should not expect to see some miraculous jump in inflation. It's not coming right now. All of these naysayers just keep pushing it off, and they continue with the fake narrative, and they think something's going to change. Hello, you have now lost 2 out of 3 elections against this guy using this same tactic. Put out fake stuff. Hope the American public are duped by your hoaxes and your BS. And honestly, there's a legitimate argument to why it didn't even work that second time. The only reason why you were able to install Joe Biden is because you changed election laws and procedures to verify ballots. And you sent out millions of ballots unsolicited that had no real way to verify whether or not those people were actual voters. All right? That alone is enough to compromise elections. Forget about the rest of it that I'm talking about, which is this systematic effort. It's an information war. And it continues. And you know that it is because, I could just run the clip, and I will. Let's just do that first. And then when we come back, we'll talk about this poll a little bit. If you've been watching me for a while, you know the only reason this poll gets cited is because of the name it has. It very well may be the very worst poll in this industry. And yet, Harry Enton's going to do a segment about it and push a narrative about it. When those of us who actually get elections correct are looking at him and laughing. You're a joke, Harry. You're a freaking joke. You keep citing all of this garbage that you yourself know is not accurate information. You yourself, you don't have to be some kind of data guru to know that these polls suck. They're not just wrong. They're wrong all the time, and they're wrong by a lot. Yet you choose to do a segment based on these polls, and you ignore everybody else who got it right? We're all just laughing at you at this point. You're a freaking joke. You're a clown. You're a clown. Listen to this, guy.
The simple word here is hurt. It has hurt Donald Trump's popularity. You can see it right here. We have 2 new polls, Quinnipiac University, AP Newark. I got the prior poll for you on the screen. I got the now. This is the net approval rating. You can see this in Quinnipiac, -12 to -16. How about AP Newark? -16 to -21.
Okay. The AP is the worst. If not, look, if they are not the worst poll in the entire industry, they're pretty damn close. The AP Newark poll had Hillary Clinton winning the popular vote by 13 points. Final poll. They had Hillary Clinton winning on every major issue, every single one. Fast forward 4 years, we'll leave the midterm record off the table because they were even equally abysmal. But let's just talk about during the Trump era because that's what's relevant here. We're talking about their ability to measure public sentiment about Donald Trump or toward Donald Trump. Fast forward 4 years, they got Joe Biden beating Donald Trump in the national popular vote even more than they had Hillary beating him. 1 point more. Biden plus 14. Again, Biden led on everything. And the COVID issue, that's one thing. It should have been pretty close with a slight Biden edge among the issue of COVID nationally. But within the key battleground states like Ohio and Florida, they actually trusted Trump more. Iowa, they actually trusted Trump more. In states like Pennsylvania, very close, maybe with a tiny edge for Biden, if at all, but then with an edge among the economy and issues like that, the economy and jobs, that was advantage Donald Trump. Very, very, very close election. Not in that shit poll. In that shit poll, it was a blowout. Biden was ahead on everything. He even reclaimed an advantage on the economy. Go look at the Harris poll. By the way, you have to use webarchive.org in order to even find these poll results that I'm referring to right now, because the AP deletes them. You have to go to polling aggregators like Real Clear Politics, and you have to go back and find where they initially linked to that poll, and you'll have to find the link, and then you'll have to put it in the Wayback Machine, because the links on RCP are broken. Why? Because the AP deletes them, because they don't want you to know how bad their polling has been. Why would you do that? In fact, why would you even keep polling if you're this bad? Narrative, propaganda, because you're fake. You're a faker. That's why. I don't care if their name's the AP. I don't care if it's Bloomberg News. I don't care if it's the New York Times. They're fake polls. At some point, you have to either know you're that bad and you're doing it anyway because you want the results to give a narrative, or you're just faking it and you're that bad. You're just faking that bad. Either way, you're fake. Does the motive matter? Does it matter anymore? They're not credible polls. No matter what anybody says to me, says to you, says, on this show or that show, the Halpern show, the Fox show, it doesn't matter. What they cannot explain is why we should at all care about what Harry's talking about, or how Harry could even justify putting that garbage on his program when he knows they're so bad at their job. If it's not a credible poll, why are you talking about it? Nothing Harry says can negate that. Nothing. The Quinnipiac poll is shit. It's trash. It's been trash for years. Tim Malloy's been on Hill shopping his poll results back and forth from Republicans to Democrats, whomever. I don't know. Maybe he's trying to get grants for the university. I don't know. Republicans want to hear him out, may throw a couple bucks their way. Who knows? So the polls in the 2014 midterms are good for Republicans. Democrats want to throw him some bucks, whatever. Then, 2016 swings back the other way. I'm not going to shame anybody here, because honestly, I think I could probably still use the same panel that Quinnipiac uses and still not come up with crappy results that bad. It's just, there is no universe where Donald Trump is at 38%. It's not possible to do right now. And no, the riots are not hurting Donald Trump. They're helping him, which I'm going to show you an actual smart Democrat, a Democratic political, let's call he's a psephologist, right? He used to be gospel to them, in fact. And maybe he still is, which all the more gives you all the more reason to wonder, why would Harry do these segments? Because they want to lie to you. And if you're a Democrat out there, I would ask you a very simple question, because Trump supporters are over there nodding their head at everything I'm saying. Damn right, damn right. If you're a Democrat, why do you want to be lied to? If you are watching this show before the 24 election, I told you not only are those polls wrong, you're not only going to lose, you're going to lose pretty badly. And I did, how many shows did I do where I said, despite what Harry Enton says, despite what the Quinnipiac poll says, despite what the AP North poll says, I think you need to seriously prepare for the inevitable outcome where you are the loser. Why do you want to be lied to? You have to, on some level. You want to be lied to because you tolerate this. You consume it, and you consume it without pushback. Do you like being made fools? Do you like being the joke? The tool? The useful idiot? Do you enjoy it? Because it's not going to stop with just me or like Trump supporters getting, fed up or angry with it. It's not going to stop just from us. It'll stop when you decide that you are worth more, and you are. You're worthy of the truth. Demand it. Right now, you're the equivalent of the drug addict, and the media outlets, the cartel. They don't care about you. They keep sending that shit, that junk over the border. They keep putting it in your veins and up your nose. You're the fool. You're the market. If there was no market for it, they wouldn't send it. Harry is pushing copium on you, man. And ladies, you're the market. And until you get, and not, listen, no offense here, but I'm giving it to you how it is. Until you get enough self-respect for yourself and you decide that you're worth not being lied to, you're worth the truth. You are part of the sovereign voter, the body of sovereign voters that they should be respecting and listening to. And by the way, obeying. Until you do all that and you understand all that, they're going to continue with this nonsense. You're going to be let down. You're going to be the butt of the joke. You're going to be wondering why on earth you keep losing elections. If you think that these riot situations in LA and in other areas where they're trying to duplicate it, if you think this is helping you, and the country is seeing Donald Trump as some kind of a dictator, and he's negative 16 and 12, and he's 38% and 36% approval, you're clowning yourself. The country wants these people deported. The riots are making you completely unacceptable as a national political party in the eyes of the voters. And you should do very well next year because Republicans have a lot of retirements going on, but you're not if you keep this up. You're going to blow it. And despite hard work, winning a race in Wisconsin, getting 3 districts you don't deserve because it's gerried, despite all of that, despite history being on your side, you're about to blow it the way Republicans blew it in 2022. AP Nork, fast forward to 2024. Harris not only was ahead in their final polling by a disgusting margin, more than twice the margin of the Marist poll, which is another one of the worst polls out there, but more than twice the margin of the Marist poll. Not only was she ahead in the national popular vote, and the AP and Nork said she was going to basically run away with it, she led on, they got every issue wrong. They said that Donald Trump's advantage had been reduced to nothing statistically significant among the voters who, said the economy and jobs, inflation, all of that. They said she was going to romp him by 30 points among voters who said threats to democracy was their most important issue. Donald Trump won those voters. He won those voters. That's not a small mistake. Abortion was going to be a 2.5 to 1 advantage for her. She barely won them. It was low single digits, and it wasn't a top voting issue. People cared a lot more about the economy and jobs, inflation and immigration. Inflation and immigration, the two I's. Because inflation and immigration too, to a lesser extent, is still an economic issue. So who gives two shits what the AP North poll says, unless your intent is to deceive people? Harry may be a tool and a clown, but he's not a stupid guy. He can use Google. He's got his Enton aggregate. Where's the link to their final poll before 24 in the Enton aggregate, Harry? You didn't look it up? Come on. Yes, he did. He took two of the shittiest polls in the industry with the heaviest Democrat. It's not even a Democrat lean. Again, it's not even a Democrat lean. And a response bias or a poor design on the panel can't even explain how bad these numbers are. Trump's Sunday night approval rating was double digits, to the point where now he's down to low single digits again, but that's to be expected. It was a knee-jerk reaction. In no world, and even if you're a bad pollster, you can't possibly find numbers like that. A liar, a propagandist pollster, that's different. What I am telling you guys, and I told you, like, I am done handling these people with kid gloves. I am telling you that they are intentionally fudging these numbers. Yeah. And one way or the other, that's true. Like I said, it doesn't really matter what the motive is or what the specific mechanic is behind it. If you're that bad at your job, where you blow 3 presidential elections in a row, all favoring one party that lost 2 out of the 3 of those elections, but overstated their support by margins 2-3 times your sampling error, and yet you continue to do it, you don't even deserve the benefit of the doubt. Not even remotely. You should automatically assume that they're intentionally lying. They're intentionally putting out numbers for propaganda purposes. Not because they're not good at their job. It doesn't matter. Not because they got a response bias. Like, oh, that's all nonsense at this point. They're so far out in left field, it's not even funny. And they're doing it on purpose. We're polling districts Donald Trump lost, and he's about even. That's how bad this issue is hurting them. And I'm going to read something when we come back. I mean, when we're done with this clip. It's already 2:28, so we got a boogie here. Let Harry have his nonsense. I want you to pay attention, not because I want you to listen to what Harry's saying like he's a thoughtful individual. I want you to learn to recognize a clown propagandist when you see one.
Awful for both of these pollsters. Where we are right now, both Quinnipiac and AP Nork, the worst for Donald Trump in this term so far. He is very much way underwater, at least in these 2 polls.
And this is overall approval. How about specifically on immigration?
Yeah, so immigration has been a strength for Donald Trump. That was why in the beginning of the week I said that Donald Trump wanted this fight. Maybe he shouldn't have wanted this fight. What are we talking about here? Let's take a look at the net approval rating for Donald Trump on immigration. You go back to June 1, he was at +4 points. Look at where he is now, -2 points in the aggregate. That is a drop.
A contradictory clown, ladies and gentlemen. A contradictory clown. They're the same fielding dates, basically, as the poll that he just cited in the segment he just referred to. What he's not telling you is, even when other pollsters, the good ones, the ones that are accurate, the ones that do their job with impartiality and an attempt to be right, even when we had him in the stratosphere, double-digit approval, these people had him 8, 10, 12, 15 points to the left. So who cares? That's the point. Even the trend, who cares? He just cited another poll, which is also a bad poll, 2 days ago, which showed the complete opposite trend of what he's talking about, of this trend. Honestly, the other poll is not as bad as the Quinnipiac poll, and they're not as bad surely not as bad as the AP poll. I'm telling you, the AP poll is quite possibly the worst poll in the industry. I don't think the AP North poll has ever been right. Ever. I'm serious. You go right now. I'll give you homework. Go and try to find a poll when they were right, when that I did not find. You're not going to find one. Since they began putting these polls out. I even went back and found the House ballot from 2014. It was like 8 points to Democratic. And by the way, Republicans had a very good midterm election that midterm. They're awful. They've always been awful, to the point where nobody really should care, let alone do a segment about what their polling trends are showing. Kamala Harris didn't win the threats to democracy vote, and she sure as hell did not win the election. Abortion was not the primary concern of voters, and no, she did not win them by 30 points. This is a friggin' joke, or almost 30, which was 2.5 to 1. Almost a friggin' joke. Almost it's like if you paid somebody to put out the most ludicrous polling. Could you imagine if another pollster, how much credence would we give this pollster? If another pollster in 2020, an election Donald Trump lost, if they came out with a poll that was national, Trump plus 10, and they showed Trump winning on every single issue, right? And Trump winds up losing the election by 4 points, right? So that's the equivalent of the miss they had in 2016, in 2020, in 2024. What would we do with that poll? How would that poll be treated? Would they get news coverage on prime time? Would they get news coverage during the daytime? Would they get on all of the big networks? Would they be cited on all the websites? No way. They would be blacklisted, rightfully so, because that would be a garbage propaganda poll. You're not going to find one, though, because there are no propaganda polls that are independent polls. They're all left-wing propaganda polls, all of them. Now, there are campaign polls that are right-wing campaign garbage, which I've called out before, including the great and mighty Tony Fabrizio. Trash in Florida. Absolute trash. That was a fabricated number for donors so we could get more money. I call it when I see it on both sides. I don't give a damn who gets mad. We wouldn't pay a single bit more attention to that poll. That would be it. They'd be blacklisted, be over. It happened, by the way, to a pollster in the 2004 election Robert Kennedy used them for his campaign polling because he was old school Democrat. He got blacklisted for mildly overstating John Kerry's support. He was thrown out of the club and left to fend for himself for years. He didn't poll for another presidential campaign until Robert Kennedy. This is an insult to your intelligence. And again, like I said, if you're a Democrat, I don't know why you would ever want to be the fool, why you would want to be lied to like this, why you would soak in this crap, because you're not going to ever see an end to this fully. Like, there'll be a joke and they'll be humiliating themselves, but you're still taking them seriously. So they're still pretending to be serious. Do you understand what I'm saying? If we didn't have a bunch of people who consumed poison in this country, cartels would not send it over the border. That's you in this analogy. You enjoy it? Proud of yourself for it? Make you feel good? Get some respect for yourself. Let's take a real quick break. When we come back, we're going to read something that you guys got to read. We're going to read it together. All right. As always, you know how much I love these guys. You know that feeling when you wake up and your coffee actually does what it's supposed to do? It clears your head, it lifts your energy, it doesn't leave you crashing an hour later. That's what good coffee is supposed to feel like. And that's what you get with 1775 coffee. Their coffee is organic, it's single origin, high altitude, and small batch roasted. That means no toxins, no acidity, no jitters, just smooth, clean coffee that fuels your day without weighing you down. From bold everyday roasts to brain boosting mushroom blends and anti aging formulas, 1775 is the functional and classic coffee options to match whatever mission you're on. Whole bean, ground, or pods, your morning just got an upgrade. Head to 1775coffee.com. Use my promo code TPP at checkout for 15% off your purchase. The link is in the description. It's 1775coffee.com. Use the promo code TPP. And also, as always, we love getting your feedback. I know it's good. It's real good. Always send us your feedback. We love to hear it. Tell me what your favorite blend is. I don't know if you've tried that, guys, especially guys my age. Try that mushroom blend. You need to check it out. The Rejuvenate Anti-Aging. Laura really liked it. It's also good. It's also delicious. Also, I don't know if you guys know or not, local certainly does. Been hitting the gym again. Health is very important. The election took way too much away from me. I need to get back in there and do what I got to do. They even have a creamer which will give you your daily whey protein. I mean, and it's good, clean whey. Love 1775. You guys will too, and let us know what you think when you get it. All right. I'm going to go to somebody. We're going to read him right now. This guy, I repeatedly told you throughout the election that there are a few Democrats who actually see the danger on the horizon. They don't believe the Marist polls. They don't believe the Quinnipiac polls. They don't believe the AP North polls. They don't believe any of the garbage that you're reading. Their own private polling showed that Harris was getting her ass kicked. By the way, locals, last week when I put that up, you see, it leaked. You could literally go back to the show and to Twitter. I put it on Twitter. I put it on locals too, because I saw that polling when it came out. It was like, oh my God, you're making stuff up. No, I'm not. And I went on to Steve Gruber. I literally handed it to Steve Gruber. He saw it too. We did a segment right as I got it. As I got that, I went on Steve Gruber's show. I gave it to him. I said, don't leak it. Don't want to get anybody in trouble. He saw it. We're both listening to all of this nonsense commentary from clowns like Harry Enton and Nate Silver, watching all of this garbage polling roll off like, you can, like clockwork. Meanwhile, I'm looking at the Democratic polling showing that she is getting swept in the Rust Belt. Arizona, not close. Nevada, gone. Meanwhile, you're seeing all the crap from the pollsters Harry loves to cite with his stupid little Enton average no one gives two shits about. Harris +4. Harris +5. So ridiculous. Aren't you tired of it? Are you as tired as me of it? And the guy goes out there and does these cheesy little segments. Aren't you embarrassed, Harry? Even a little? Aren't you humiliated? How do you go in front of that camera and do that? How do you do it without just, going home at night and being like, I'm such a shill. I'm such a disgusting person. Do you scrub so hard in the shower that you're breaking skin? Or are you just a sociopath who doesn't care at all? Like, you just have no remorse whatsoever. Be embarrassed. You should be. It's funny. Rui doesn't. He wanted this fight. Remember, I just said 24 hours ago Donald Trump wanted this fight? Maybe he didn't. Okay, Harry. And maybe you should be on bipolar medicine, bro, because you're back and forth like, blah, 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 blah. Let's start calling this guy Sybil. Holy crap. without any intellectual justification at all. Meanwhile, the real thought leaders don't think this is a great idea at all. Here's Rui Teixeira, one of the co-authors of what used to be the Democrats' Bible, the emerging Democratic majority, who all before the election, we read because we knew he was right, even though he has his own progressive spin on it. And you got to take, it's like when you're reading Rui or John Judas, you have to it's like eating a steak, right? Like, it's good stuff in there, really nourishing stuff. But you don't want to eat all the shit because, there's gristle and fat, right? And you don't want to put that stuff in your gut. So you got to, trim it off. You got to learn to read these guys and, trim off the fat. It's just their left wingism coming through. They can't help it. But the core of the message was there now, which is that my party has lost its mind. And I don't care what these polls say, Americans are not going to be okay with this. They were not okay with it before. They're not suddenly okay with it now. The man was elected with, by the way, all of those non-whites that Rui Teixeira was saying were going to vote for Donald Trump. It's not just white working class anymore. Wake up. You're too radical. You're talking to yourself. You're in an echo chamber. We're losing blacks like crazy. We're losing Hispanics like crazy. Wake up. They didn't. They just continued with their fake polls and their propaganda press and thought it was going to work. Lie to somebody enough, maybe you trick them into believing the reality that you are putting forward, which is not real. Here we are again. As the riots in Los Angeles developed, one question kept going through my brain. Have Democrats learned anything? The chaos in Southern California could have been designed in a lab to exploit Democratic weak spots, combining the issues of illegal immigration, crime, and public disorder. Yet their most visible response to the anti-deportation riots in Los Angeles has been to denounce President Trump for sending National Guard troops to quell the riots. Even Rui Teixeira is calling them riots, not protests. The situation, they insist, is under control, or at least it was until Trump intervened. This view is not shared by some in charge of actually doing the quelling. As Los Angeles Police Chief Jim McDonnell admitted at a Sunday evening press conference, we are overwhelmed. Tonight, we had individuals out there shooting commercial-grade fireworks at our officers that can kill you. They'll take backpacks filled with cinder blocks and hammers, break the blocks, and pass the pieces around to throw at officers and cars, and even at other people. By the way, you guys see the press conference from Broward County Sheriff Ivey? He said, "You protest in my city, we'll send your remains back home to your next of kin." That protest, you riot, you do what your Democrats and the media are defining as protests. You do that shit in my city, and I'll send your remains back to your family members. Good for him. Police and law-abiding citizens are just supposed to sit there and get abused because NGOs are taking left-wing socialist billionaire money to fabricate protests. Make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, you can trace this money. Data Republican, by the way, go check it out. Great thread. You can trace this money. Everybody knows it. Just like everybody knew in 2016, it was Bernie Sanders' PACs that put together the riot that led to 4 police officers in Chicago being hurt. Why? Because Donald Trump wanted to speak to black people in Chicago, and they couldn't afford it. So they funded and started a riot and hurt 4 police officers because that's who these people are. They'll fake polls. They'll fake media stories. They'll fake hit pieces. They'll fake narratives. And they will sure as shit fabricate a riot. Meanwhile, Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom waved the bloody shirt of January 6th, arguing that when the National Guard was needed, and that therefore Trump is a hypocrite to call them in now. All right. First of all, let me just say, because this is his progressive shining through. We now all know that Donald Trump, in fact, did tell them to bring the National Guard to D.C., but the D.C. mayor and Nancy Pelosi, who have the final say in the District of Columbia, not the President of the United States, declined them. Nancy Pelosi is literally on camera. There's audio and video footage of her in the car talking about why she was going to refuse it. I mean, facts matter, dude. You can't call the guy a hypocrite when he was not the one responsible for that. That was two Democrats. That's why there wasn't National Guard present for the January 6th riots, whatever. Which, by the way, weren't as violent as this. This is considerably more violent. The state is now suing to stop the deployment while Newsom exchanges insults with Trump and the White House border czar Tom Homan. Come get me, Tom. Tough guy. Come get this guy. Could you imagine Gavin thrown in a cell for 24 hours? This preppy little white boy would be shitting his pants. Somebody should do it. Just do it. And roll the cameras. There'll be tears rolling down his cheeks and everything. That boy isn't built for that. You want to throw Steve and Peter in jail? Why not? And they should have the camera on him while he cries for his mommy and high-priced lawyer. Put him right in Gen Pop. Bam! New Jersey Senator Cory Booker echoed Newsom on Sunday, calling the protests peaceful while blaming Trump for sowing chaos. And Democratic commentators like former Labor Secretary Robert Reich saw the use of the National Guard as ushering the first stages of a police state. Trump police state. It's so funny because this is exactly what, I guess they're only for democracy when they win, right? Or they can rig it to win. That's the only time that Democrats are for democracy. Our country's problems, huge amount of them, has solely come from Democrats refusing to win elections. All the way back to Richard Nixon. I found it funny, Mark Mitchell and I had done that segment when we told you guys about right track, wrong track. Every time, and it's all been under Trump, that right track looked like it was going to exceed wrong track, or did, because it did recently. They pull something. And we told you guys to get ready for some significant civil unrest or some kind of a Russia hoax thing. Something was coming in order to stop right direction from crossing wrong track and maintaining it because it's historically significant. They don't want the country unified. They don't want the country optimistic. They don't want the country strong. They don't want the country well. They don't survive in those situations politically. Congressional Black Caucus Chair Representative Yvette Clarke, which is funny because you're bleeding black voters to Trump like crazy. And it's been over this immigration issue. And she declared that Trump's actions were unlawful and that they constituted an impeachable offense. Let me let you in on a little secret, Miss Clarke, because I don't think you've been in your own communities lately. The reason you lost 35% of black men in Texas, the reason you lost double-digit black support to Donald Trump in 2024 from sea to shining sea, the reason you lost I know you don't care about these people, but Hispanic men in places like California, Texas, Florida, everywhere. The reason you did is because you put illegals before you put U.S. citizens, including struggling black communities, downtrodden communities that need healthcare and education and jobs. You put your dishwasher before them. That's why you lost them. In lonely contrast to these voices, John Fetterman, the maverick Democratic senator from Pennsylvania, channeled the normie voter reaction to violent street demonstrations. My party loses the moral high ground when we refuse to condemn setting cars on fire, destroying buildings, and assaulting law enforcement. I unapologetically stand for free speech, peaceful demonstrations, and immigration, but this is not that. This is anarchy and true chaos. The fact that he is virtually the only prominent Democrat to say something like this speaks volumes. There might very well be a universe where it makes sense for Democrats already saddled with a dreadful image on crime and immigration to train their fire on Trump and the National Guard instead of anti-deportation rioters. However, it is not the universe we currently inhabit. Well, you need to go tell that, Rui. You should go tell that to Malloy and his sycophant successor over at Quinnipiac. Go talk to the AP and everyone else faking polls out there right now because they are faked. Faked with a capital F. Faked. Mark. Faked. There's no two ways about it. As David Ignatius, a pro-Democrat but moderate Washington Post columnist, notes, there's your liberal showing again, Democrats have gotten the border issue so wrong for so long that it amounts to political malpractice. The latest chapter, in which violent protesters could be helping Donald Trump create a military confrontation he's almost begging for as a distraction from his other problems, may prove the most dangerous yet. When I see activists carrying Mexican flags, join the book club, join the book club, join the book club, as they challenge ICE raids in Los Angeles this week, I think of two possibilities. These protesters are deliberately working to create visuals that will help Trump, or they are well-meaning but unwise dissenters who are inadvertently accomplishing the same goal. Well, David, you're an idiot because it's really option 3. There are paid bad actors who want to destabilize our society and at all costs keep their fake advantage in the census with illegal immigrants. And they profit off of human smuggling, bruh. They're corrupted by cartels, coerced by money and or threat of violence. Either way, they are crooked. And then there are some sucker, well-meaning fools who don't know because you're not doing your damn job. The Democrats' own goals on the LA disorder are the mirror image of the mistakes made by the president himself in recent months. Just as Trump has overread his electoral mandate, going further and faster than many of his voters wanted and pursuing many unpopular policies, now the Democrats have assumed they have an anti-mandate to oppose more or less everything the president does. Democrats do not have to cheer on every ICE raid, but they have to be seen to prioritize law and order and not deny the reality on the ground of violent protests. Now, this is just, honestly, this is just an absolute ludicrous rest of what he says. And it's all predicated on this false assumption that Democrats give two shits about any of this. This, and I got to say, I mean, I said this before the election too. The Ruiz, Dan's a great guy. He's another one, though. Can we drop the pretentious bullshit? This is about numbers. People counted as numbers. We want an illegal invasion because we can't rely on domestic Americans to vote for us all the time. We want an illegal invasion because I don't want to do my own laundry. We want an illegal invasion because I don't want to cut my own lawn. We want an illegal invasion because I don't want to pay a living wage to an American domestic worker. We want an illegal invasion because we want them counted in the census so I can give my benefactors kickbacks in the form of the federal budget. Because, of course, proportionate is tied to the census. We want an illegal invasion because we want our electoral college numbers inflated. We want an illegal invasion because we want congressional districts that we would never be able to win otherwise. So stop pretending as if none of that is true, because that is the real reason none of them will come around. That's not in their interest to do so. They don't support law and order. That's an objective fact. They are in a tiny, tiny minority because that's what they have to do to maintain their status quo. They're never going to side with the majority. They're going to try to bully them, fabricate realities and narratives, and hope you give in. There are no moderate voices. John Fetterman would have switched parties already if John Thune wasn't the Senate Majority Leader. I'm not the only one who knows that. Maybe I'm the only one who's going to say it into a microphone. Guy 100% gets why Donald Trump has an appeal and agrees with him on most issues. Does, including this one. And trade, by the way. A lot. But he won't do it because he doesn't like the old wing of the Republican Party. He doesn't think they're any better. Thinks they're worse, actually. Because they're phonies. He's right. But Fetterman is now a lone wolf. That's the one thing Rui said there that was really profound because it's true. You're not seeing a chorus of voices race to agree with Rui Teixeira. You're not gonna. Go look at that tweet, that post on X. Fetterman put out that statement. Go read the replies. We got to stop pretending that any of this is real. It's not. They're not going to change. They're not going to change their stance suddenly. And if they do, it will not be authentic. But they need this. They need it. And many of them think, they do think that it's helping them politically. Before the 2024 election, a lot of them were duped by these fake polls. They were. They believed, many people, including donors, believed that Harris was going to win this election. They believed that Kamala Harris had this huge advantage because of abortion and because of the threats to democracy issue, which we already went over. Of course, she had an advantage on neither of those issues, even abortion. Yep. It's like 4 points, dude. It was nothing. Trump won threats to democracy voters two times more. The margin was twice the size of the margin that Harris won abortion voters, which was in the low single digits. But they believed it. So it goes back to what I'm saying. It's like, until those people start thinking, and I'm not talking about the party people, like they're another animal. But the average people that's meant to consume all this crap, all this propaganda, and believe all this crap, until they tell the party, until they tell the media, you know what? I'm drawing the line. I may agree with you on this issue. Maybe I don't like Donald Trump, but I'm going to have some dignity for once. I deserve the truth. Don't lie to me and tell me that the American public's going to stand with me on this. They're not. This is why Donald Trump won the election. Donald Trump is not underwater on immigration. It's insane. Donald Trump has been absolutely dominant on the issue of immigration for the entire time that he has been on the political stage. Has it narrowed here and there? And is it narrower now than it's been in the past? Yeah. Do they want him to deport these people? You're damn right. Do they want him to put these riots down? You're damn right. And worse for Democrats is that the areas that had been trending Republican in states like California, because of working Hispanics, they're being shoved a lie that this is somehow going to turn those voters away from Donald Trump. That's crazy. Those voters voted for him because of this. And right now, these riots are absolutely reminding them why. If they had forgotten, which most that I've spoken to have not. It's insane. I mean, we're just continuing the same thing over and over again. I will say this. He said, sure, Trump's approval rating has declined some. Many things he has done are very unpopular, but the public still generally approves of Trump's deportation program for illegal immigrants. And he cites actually a garbage poll by CBS, which was also very wrong. Support is overwhelming when the focus is narrowed to those who have committed violent crimes, which again, he goes to Pew Research, also wrong. Pew had it right and they folded on their final poll. So it's hard to gauge Pew right now. What do I mean by that? They actually had the election almost completely accurate in their second to last poll. And they got either scared or they towed the party line because they are the party. They're left wing. They get their money from left wing sources. And they caved. And they went back and they gave Harris a little lead. They gave her those edges on those issues that everybody else was finding, and she didn't have it. They caved. So it's like Pew is weird to me because it feels like they have the ability to know what they're doing and produce good results. They're just not doing it. I'm not sure which is worse. I'm not sure which is worse. All right, it's already 3:01. So you guys, I'll put this in it's linked on Real Clear Politics right now. Locals, I'm going to put it in the chat right now. I really do want you guys to go and read it all, okay? Getter, I'm putting it for you. YouTube, I'll put it for you. We just don't have the time to continue on everything. But check it out while you can, all right? Let's go through. I got to do a bit of a speed round here with your Q&A because I'll tell you, when there's something to talk about and is ranting enough, then sure as hell believe that this show goes quick. All right. You know what though? I'm gonna play the rest of Harry Schmarry real quick while I take a 30-second break. I'm not even gonna play it all. All right.
6 points in only about
And we'll
2
answer your
weeks'
questions.
time. The only thing that's happened over the last 2 weeks is obviously Donald Trump's ramped up immigration hawkish agenda. And at least at this particular point, the American people are saying, no, we do not like that. And they have turned against the president on his core strength issue of immigration. He is now underwater on the issue that has been strongest for him.
A bit of a turn, but it is happening this weekend. This weekend is the big military parade that the president, we know, has been pushing for and is getting this time to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army. There's been a lot of back and forth about concerns over cost and simply how
now they
much
care about cost.
Hardware and military tanks are going to weigh, and could they damage even the roads? But still, it's
unbelievable. Could they damage the roads? This is a party who was told that there could be a massive issue that we need to prepare for. They ignored it and raided the fund to do something about it, to prepare us all for it so that they could have Obamacare. I mean, it's so hard to take it all serious. It really is. All right. Ryan just watched a video from Alex Jones predicting that Iran will be a free country within 3 months with minimal blowback from the Israeli attack. How would this affect the Trump presidency and country with the neocons taking a victory to the bank? I actually think that would benefit Donald Trump if that happened in the way that you're saying. If there was a massive war or something, that may be different. If it was very minimal Israeli military involvement and that happened, I actually think that would end up a victory for Donald Trump. I do. I just don't know if that's even possible. I mean, I don't know what Alex is talking about, but I haven't seen it. But I don't know if that's even possible because every time we hear about these kind of things, Bill Kristol, speaking of neocons himself, said this isn't going to be Vietnam when it came to Iraq. We're going to be in and out of there. It's not the 60s anymore. Look what happened, right? So I don't know if there was a way to almost minimal effort, change the regime in Iran, and it was a more Israeli, and not only Israeli, but Middle East friendly regime, because Trump has done a good job isolating Iran. Then I think that's, that could end up being a positive for him, because you do have people who are America first. Like, they don't like sanctions on Iran that hurt the everyday Iranian. I could see them celebrating something like that and giving Trump credit for it. They're always a pain in the butt crowd, but I'm thinking about the gains that he has made with both Jewish and Muslim voters, which is weird. And any resolution that doesn't include a whole lot of bloodshed, I think would be a win for him. Excuse me. Ryan, Yeah, and I will respond to you, buddy. I did see her. I did see Laura forwarded that to me. I got to get some stuff out of the way, but I will. And honestly, we could. Yeah, we could. You know what? Let me just text her right now and tell her to get that. Okay, there you go. So she'll find a time where we could talk. All right, that would be cool. And I do love polling that state. It's a good state. The reason Dems don't want to pivot on their argument and just lie about their positions is the same reason why voters prefer to be fed bullshit. Winning the argument is an inconvenience you suffer through when you're dealing with equals. The Dems look at Trump voters as subhuman scum, and they would rather go down with the Titanic trying to subjugate than tacitly admit we're human beings by trying to win an argument. Oof, that's some profound stuff. And I actually think you're onto something, Red Diver. I do. That's Red Diver. All right, let's go to Emperor Soft Turtle. Is this a good poll question? How much trust do you have in the opinions and predictions of financial experts? I love that question. I mean, we've asked things like that in the past, very similar. Americans don't typically trust financial experts since the Great Recession, but it is cool. And then you added by saying, I'm too generous to Dem votes. I suffered through a bulwark focus group on Biden's mental acuity. Dems just wanted to parrot MSM talking points, all of them. Yeah, I know. I've actually been, I'm telling you, been involved with focus groups when it came to Biden's mental acuity. And, you would think, though, there was a moment, though, that Turtle, when they saw him on that stage, a lot of them had a break and were like, in their Dem leaning independence, they had a break and they said, but there is a huge part of the Democratic Party that just is stuck in the illusory truth effect. And that's why we did that show on that topic, because they really do need to be the ones, like I said before, they need to be the ones who say, you know what, Harry, enough. Stop feeding us bullshit. All right. There's a half a dozen polls, if that have done a good job predicting elections, right? You got Mark, Rasmussen, you got myself. Trafalgar does well with presidential cycles, along with Matt from Insider Advantage. You can consider them maybe both the same, but not. Let's just keep them separate for now, right? That's 4. Who else? They're new. They're newcomers. But Qantas did good in 24, right? That's 5. And then Emerson. You got Emerson. Spencer Kimball at Emerson. And by the way, Matt's son, I believe, is Spencer's underling over there. I don't mean it that. I think he's going to be the new director after Spencer's gone. So that's it. 6. I mean, yet he goes out of his way to find the worst of the worst until they say, you know what, Harry, we're tired of being lied to. And they shame, because obviously Harry is incapable of being humiliated by his own ridiculousness and his own disgusting track record of misleading voters. He's incapable of that. On many levels, most of the people in this industry are narcissists. All right, they are. So it's got to be his target audience that says, wait, enough. But for the reasons we discussed in that episode, it's much harder than you think. And honestly, I think that should be the argument to these people who are the primary audience for these disinformation efforts and misinformation efforts. That's what they are. They do like to be lied to. And in many cases, most do, but Crew Kid says Dems like to be lied to because if anything, it breaches their carefully constructed, deluded reality. It would absolutely break them and send them spiraling. Crew. That's why they believed the Russia collusion hoax so easily. It was ludicrous on its face, but they believed it. They needed something to keep that constructed reality together. He's right. Crew is right. Melania says, what is the electorate in Oregon and Washington State? Do they support Antifa? Yes. They are among the most liberal, even though they both also swung to the right in 2024. There are huge urban centers that out-represent They out-scream and out-shout the rest of the state. They have the numbers. So overall, you have to say, yeah, they support these fringe left-wing groups. Look what Antifa did. I mean, they took hostage an entire area of the city in Portland and Seattle, and they did nothing, right? They burnt a federal building. It's an act of terrorism. Nothing happened. What do you think Fetterman's end game is? Is he legitimately moving toward the center, or is it a facade in the hopes of getting another term? I can tell you 100% that Fetterman is not acting on several of these issues. I'm not saying it's everything, but on several of these issues, Fetterman is more than a Trumper than he is a Democrat. And that's probably because Donald Trump is America first, and America first is old school Reagan Democrat appeal. And then Democrats, you got to remember, they tried to take part of Reagan's base and succeeded because Republicans went the way of the rhino after Reagan. And Bill Clinton took the Macomb Democrat, the Reagan Democrat in Macomb, right? In Saginaw, in all those areas. Think places like that in Western Pennsylvania, in Northeastern Pennsylvania. So Trump is actually reverting the Republican Party back to what it was before Democrats could ever claim to be the party of blue-collar workers and the family. That was the Republican Party. America First is not a new slogan. Reagan used it, and senators opposing the Second World War used it. But I don't know what his end game is because he doesn't listen, and it makes sense. He has a huge disdain for the rhino wing of the Democratic Party. And I'm telling you, what we did on Monday was kind of funny, but it was true. Or Wednesday, went through the entire list of the Senate. Trash, trash, clown, 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 scumbag, scumbag, crook, crook, crook. So it's hard for Fetterman to make a switch because what is he switching to? But he also isn't welcome in the Democratic Party anymore. He's flippable. I can tell you this 100%. He is flippable. But Republicans should have done a better job at picking their new leaders. Donald Trump wins an election easily, outperforms all these clowns, and they pick John Thune? The fuck? Don't you know? It's like, who's tone deaf? Democrats are the only ones tone deaf? Come on. Happy Father's Day, Rich, and to all the dads here. Thanks, Peppers. I can't wait for it. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to try to do my best to go to church and then sit on my keister, which is really not true. I'll wind up going and doing the lawn. I got my fertilizer again. It came in stock. I need it, and I got to use Surge to get rid of what remains of the broadleaf weeds my lawn guy didn't get, which I cannot believe. Years of making this lawn nothing but gorgeous Tifway 419, and this guy effed everything up. And then maybe I'll try to go out and get a damn suntan. The weather's been horrible, and it's been raining like crazy. And I'm white as a ghost still from being in thing. I haven't been this white my whole life. You see pictures of me when I was a kid, I'm dark. I'm Italian, for crying out loud. I look like I'm Celt or something. No offense to Celts, but I'm not one. I need to go out and get some sun. Maybe I'll barbecue a little bit. Maybe I'll sit around, have a brisket, spritz it with some cider. I'm going to do my best to chill, Peppers. I really am. I hope that if New Jersey continues to swing right, this is Agamemnon Fireman, which looks to be true, that Monmouth County becomes the GOP center. Lived there 20 years, still miss it. That should be the center of the GOP. Because look at Monmouth County. You got Freehold, you got Howell, right? This is like perfect for Trumpism. Perfect. I don't know why there isn't a home base for MAGA in Monmouth County. Holy crap. No, but instead, you know what? You'll understand what I mean, Agamemnon. Instead, a bunch of grifters will go out and set up shop there, make a bunch of GOP consultant grifter classes will go out there and they'll like pick Marlboro to set up shop. You know what I'm talking about, right? It'll be a bunch of rich white guys doing nothing, but stuffing all of the hard-earned money of people who want to do something with it into their pockets. It's like, you see, you get it though. Monmouth. By the way, Monmouth, Trump barely won in 2020. It was looking ugly there for a second there. Now look at it. And I'm barely, but compared to what he did in 16. And New Jersey's been slowly creeping to the right, slowly. Automatic voter registration has helped Republicans there too, by the way. All right, let me just go back to, all right, looks like we did. All right, I blazed through everything. That's awesome. All right, don't forget, guys, if you like the show, to like it, share it far and wide, of course. We're everywhere. X, right? Rumble, Truth, Getter, all over. But the best place to follow is right there. peoplespundit.locals.com, peoplespundit.locals.com. By the way, these riots, if you're a member of the book club, you would understand why having these people out there waving Mexican flags and having commentators on CNN saying that, you know what, that was really Mexico. I mean, there's a lot of people there. I still think it's Mexico. Major problem for national unity and preservation. You cannot have that kind of viewpoint in a country. That's why the mosaic doesn't work. We are a melting pot, not a mosaic. All right. Is incredibly dangerous to hear people say things like that. And if you're a member of the book club or you attended the book club, which means you're a supporter on Locals, you would understand. And I would very much encourage you all to do that. Sign up, become a supporter on Locals, join the book club, join us. We are reading the best selections for the time that we're in. And if you have been with us, you have a much greater understanding of things, the most important things that are going on right now. Link to the public polling project is also below. The sooner it funds, the sooner we'll poll. I'm basically shooting for quarterly so we don't burn out your wallets. That's what I'm trying to do. But if it does fund sooner, I will poll sooner. Okay, it's simple. What else am I missing here? I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like I'm missing some kind of an announcement. But if I am, I am. All right. And I can always hit you up on Locals. Don't forget, though, again, this Sunday is Father's Day. So we will not be having a book club this Sunday. There was just too many people. Even if I wanted to do it, there were too many regulars who were not going to be on. And I'm not stealing their Father's Day any more than I'm stealing someone's Mother's Day. So we can afford to take a week. Plus, look at how far we're getting. We're all the way up to Franz Fanon. We're past Franz Fanon. We're going into part 5, Contemporary Perspectives, which will start with Clifford Geertz and the Integrative Revolution, Primordial Sentiments of Civil Politics in the New States. Fanon was the last selection in a slew that we were going through of left-wing Marxists, intellectuals on the concept and the topic of nationalism. And funny too, because they're all minorities educated in the West that were basically taught to hate the West. So it was very funny perspective, right? And what we discussed is that they don't make arguments that are like thesis statements or thesis arguments, because that's not their intent. Their intent is to use emotion to persuade. So as you're going through it, you're trying to find where is the structure of the argument. You're never going to find one because it's not their purpose. All right. But anyway, nothing but love to you guys. Hope everybody else, I'm with Peppers. I wish you all, especially you dads out there, of course, a happy Father's Day. Fathers, like mothers, have a tremendously important role in society, and appreciate them. All right. Fatherlessness was a plague on a generation. And hopefully we can and hopefully we can continue to rebound from that, because it leads to disaster. So it's a disaster for society. So we need to celebrate this. It's all right to take a day to celebrate. It's the same thing as Mother's Day. You can't even, words cannot capture how important these roles are. The family unit is the beginning building block of any strong society. Family, community, township, county, right? State, nation. One falters, they all falter. All right. Nothing but love for you guys. I'll say it for Laura because she's not in the room. Deuces. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. All right. Thought she was going to be able to make it. Nah. All right, guys. See you later.